House of Representatives backs state of emergency in Rivers. Reps deliberate on security situation in the country, focusing on Plateau and Kebbi states. And House passes tax reform bills to set stage for major overhaul. In a week where the spotlight is on the emergency rule in Rivers State, we shift gears to the broader legislative landscape. Welcome to You and Your Reps. I am Victor, so let's get started. The House of Representatives has thrown its weight behind President Bola Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State. Now, the decision, which includes a 6-month suspension of Governor Siminalayi Fubara, his deputy, and all elected state assembly members, was met with a unanimous voice vote on the floor of the House. Now, with this endorsement, the crisis in Rivers takes a new turn, raising questions about what comes next for governance in the state.
An executive session preceded the commencement of plenary, leading to the suspension of all items on the order paper to entertain the presidential request.
I hereby forward the consideration of the House of Representatives copies of the official Gazette of the State of Emergency Proclamation 2025. I wish, in view of the grave and urgent situation that has necessitated its issuance, to particularly commend this proclamation to the House of Representatives for consideration and approval in line with the Constitution.
Some lawmakers had insisted on a quorum before the debate.
Mr. Speaker, this is a constitutional.
Yes,
Can we do a head count, Mr. Speaker?
So that Nigerians will know that we are not circumventing the Constitution.
I want the House to note that today's plenary is being attended by 243 members based on our attendance registers.
That settled, lawmakers proceeded to make amendments to the presidential proclamation of emergency rule in Rivers State, including allowing the National Assembly to legislate for the state during the period in line with Section 11 of the Constitution.
I listened to Mr. President's proclamation where he said that the sole administrator will be reporting to the Federal Executive Council. Mr. Speaker, I disagree, with that position and insist that the provision of Section 11(4) of the Constitution should take precedence over that.
That a committee of eminent Nigerians be set up to mediate, to ensure that there is peace in Rivers State.
And I believe that the responsibility we have now is how do we recreate the platform for Rivers to move forward.
But the president can terminate, review the state of emergency at any time within the period, but not later than 6 months.
All amendments were passed, paving the way for a voice vote.
Are we ready for the question? Are we ready? Those in support of this request of Mr. President as amended should say aye. Aye! Those in support of this request from Mr. President as amended should say aye. Those against should say nay. There is have it.
Lawmakers described the unanimous resolution as the making of history.
If I'm to speak my mind, I'm one of those that suffered this very, very decisive decision in Plateau State. But Plateau State got better after the state of emergency.
So I think the president has acted by the dictates of the Constitution. It is we now, the parliamentarians, that would crystallize these legislative and constitutional provisions to make for the peace and good governance of Nigeria, particularly Rivers State.
Communication of the resolutions of both chambers of the National Assembly to the President takes immediate effect.
At last Wednesday's plenary, the House of Representatives tackled a number of pressing matters, including the security situations in Plateau and Kebbi states.
Lawmakers arrived in anticipation of a debate on the presidential proclamation of the state of emergency. This usually comes in the form of a message from the president to be read by the presiding officer on the floor. There was, however, no mention of communication from the president during plenary, nor was any motion on the Rivers State crisis listed on the order paper for the day.
The reading of the letter is at the discretion of Mr. Speaker and the leadership of the House. So tomorrow, hopefully, when the issue is brought before the Parliament, then at that point, we'll take a decision as a Parliament.
Bear it in mind that before you can make that consideration, the Parliament must be properly constituted with two-thirds majority, which is about 240 something or thereabout. Anything below that will be like a queue. It will not work.
The House passed resolutions aimed at enhancing security in Kebbi and Plateau states, as well as the Federal Capital Territory, to combat criminal activities.
We are in a terrible situation in Plateau, Mr. Speaker. Let the security agencies help the situation. The bush, the forest that have become a safe haven to bandits, to kidnappers, need to be combed. Also worried that the lack of adequate security patrol vehicles and gadgets in the criminal black spots within the FCT has led to an increased armed robbery, targeted attacks, assassinations, kidnapping, and terrorism.
Also adopted was a motion asking the National Assembly Service Commission to recognize diploma certificates from federal universities.
The Committee of Public Service Matters to invite the Chairman, National Assembly Service Commission, and the Commissioners to deliberate on the non-acceptance and utilization of ascertain the delay in accepting and utilizing federal university diploma.
Several bills also scaled second reading.
To amend the Nigerian Armed Forces Act 2024 to enable appropriate provision to be made for unified command structure of the Nigerian forces.
The bill for an act to amend the Federal College of Education Act Cap F8, Laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 2004, to establish Federal College of Education Onitsha Olona, Delta State, and for related matters.
Nigeria's tax system is on the brink of a transformation as the House of Representatives passes 4 key tax reform bills. The move paves the way for a sweeping overhaul of tax administration in the country.
More than 5 months after their introduction by the executive, the 4 tax reform bills reached the finish line of third reading in the House of Representatives.
Bill for an act to repeal certain acts on taxation and consolidate the legal frameworks relating to taxation and enact the Nigeria Tax Act to provide for taxation of income, transactions and instruments and for related matters. Third reading.
All the 4 bills are read the third time and passed.
The bills, with major inputs from Nigerians, seek to repeal the Federal Inland Revenue Service Establishment Act 2007 and establish the Nigeria Revenue Service, the Joint Revenue Board, and the Tax Appeal Tribunal for speedy resolution of tax disputes. They will also repeal a long list of archaic tax laws towards more efficient tax administration in Nigeria. This will be after expected passage of the bills in the Senate, preparatory to submission for presidential assent. 5 other bills passed at Tuesday's plenary, including Bill for an Act to amend the National Office for Technology Acquisition and Promotion (NOTAP) Act. Several bills also scaled second reading.
Bill for an Act to amend the Federal Medical Center Act and provide for the establishment of Federal Medical Center Kumo Gombe State.
A bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Entrepreneur and Business Management in Kogi State and to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration and for related matters.
Adopting a motion of urgent public importance, the House requested the Standard Organization of Nigeria to rid the country of substandard building materials to forestall cases of building collapse.
The House mandates the House Committees on Industry and Trade to investigate the allegation regarding Standard Organization of Nigeria's reversal of its decision to shut down 18 companies that were found wanting in the production and distribution of substandard building materials.
Meanwhile, concerns over possible alterations in past bills have prompted a fresh move in the House of Representatives. Representative Soli Sada, representing Jibia Federal Constituency of Katsina State, moved a motion urging the House to authenticate all bills before they reach the President for assent. Now, you and your reps sought further clarification on the issue as lawmakers push for greater transparency in the legislative process.
In the first place, it was influenced based on the letter Mr. President communicated to the National Assembly denying or withholding assent on some bills with the observation that there are some typos, there are this and another. And then that's quite worrying issue. If a parliament should transmit bills for assent to the president, and the president could return those bills or withhold assent just basically because of some minor issues that borders on typo and some other things. I think that gave the parliament a source of concern. And then I was requested to come up with a motion that will attract a concurrent resolution from the two chambers so that we can strengthen the process. We're not doing anything new. We're not accusing any other person, but we're just trying to see where is the gap, and we identify the gap so that we will put another process of checks in the process before transmission. And that's why the motion was requesting a concurrent resolution from the Senate where the clerk to the National Assembly authenticated the bills that were passed from the two chambers, and then the bills were clean. And then before transmission, there is the need for these bills to come back on the floor to the committee of the whole to follow these bills to find out if they're exactly what we have agreed and what we have passed. I think there is nothing more than that. It's just ensuring and strengthening the responsibility on us, and also ensuring probity and accountability in the process of lawmaking.
The word oversight can mean different things, but in the legislative world, it holds a specific weight. To break it down, we sought answers, and guiding us through is Chairman of the House Committee on Rules and Business, Francis Waive.
After we make laws, it's essential that we ensure that the laws are observed, that they are obeyed, that they are put into practice by the people involved, particularly the ministries, departments, and agencies of government. So if, for instance, we appropriate 1 naira to a particular ministry, it's broken down into personnel, recurrent expenditures like overhead and all that, and then capital. So it's our business to go during the year to every such MDA to see whether they are obeying the Appropriation Act in this sense to the letter. For instance, if they were to do any employment, whether they did and whether it was according to federal character, whether the capital project is being implemented and there is no variation from what was planned in the budget with what is practiced. If there is any variation, whether there is authority to do that, how IGR is spent and all that. So the legislature has that function to go and see that things are done according to law. That's the oversight. And every committee has the MDA that it's oversight. So for instance, if you are chairman of the Committee on Industries, of course, the Ministry of Industries is under your purview. You are chairman of the Committee on Power, the Ministry of Power is under your purview for oversight.
This week on You and Your Reps, our committee segment delves into water resources. We sit down with Chairman of the House Committee on Water Resources, Soli Sada, as he walks us through the prospects and challenges shaping the sector.
It is a huge sector which has various responsibilities from different arms of the government. So it's not solely on exclusive list, but it's on the concurrent list. So there are things that you find the federal government is working, you find there are some things the state government is working, and yet there could be an overlap because there are dams the state governments are working on, they have been taken over by the federal government, or there is an intervention from the federal government. Because of the importance of the sector, federal government just didn't let it go like that. Wherever it is necessary, we find that the federal government intervenes in the water sector and sanitation. It was an executive bill trying to harmonize and all the water sector laws. There are about 4: River Basin Development Authority law, Nigerian Hydrological Agency, Water Resources Bill, and which other one? The Nigerian Water Resources Institute bill. Those are the 4 bills, and they wanted to put them together because they are all within the water sector and bring them together and have a bill. Of course, the bill suffered a lot of problems because at that time, that shows to you how important water sector is to Nigerians. There was a lot of misconception, there was a lot of politics, there was a lot of shenanigans that hijacked the bill, and then it was taken over, and that's where we are. So the bill died naturally in the parliament, just like any other bill that couldn't see the light of the day. And but I believe, given time, and then there is a lot of awareness now, members are becoming to understand how important the sector is, the issues surrounding it. And even though at that time concerns were raised, which was tabled before the Governors Forum, and the Governors Forum made their intervention, they brought it back to the Parliament. But unfortunately, the Parliament decided what it should do about the bill. And then I absolutely 100% agreed with the Parliament to step down the bill. The water resources sector, water resources and sanitation sector got a fair deal, I can say, for the start. I think for the first time, there is a lot of attention to the river basins, which are very, very important agencies that can augment our food security effort, that can rehabilitate our dams, and that can also help in harvesting the water to stop it going to the sea. I think a lot of provisions have been made into these river basins, which we will see a lot of transformation, a lot of revolution. A number of dams will be rehabilitated. A number of dead irrigation schemes across the country will be rehabilitated so that more access to irrigation farming will be open to the public in order to just to avoid this rainfall agriculture because of the lack of rainfall and because of lack of climate change. So I think there is a lot of attention is shifting towards irrigation. We have the land, we have the opportunity to harvest the water, we have the dams across the country. All we need to do, good management and good usage of this infrastructure. We do attend a quarterly meeting with the Vice President. He's the one that chairs that Open Defecation Free Nigeria campaign, which is being spearheaded by the Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation in conjunction with the state governments and the local governments. They are doing a lot, but it's huge. It's a huge challenge for this country, this open defecation, because of there are a lot of cultural issues, there's a lot of educational issues, there is a lot of even funding is another problem. You see, it's an issue that involves the grassroots, from the local government, then state governments, then the federal government. the federal government would drive the policy. And sometimes the federal government augments with funding. But like I know, most local governments now, they have water resources and sanitation departments working in conjunction with the state government and the federal government, particularly Federal Ministry of Water Resources, in order to address this menace. You talk about India. I could remember the first policy the Indian government came up with is to construct 900,000 toilets first. That is the starting point. So, in one hand, you need the political will. In the other hand, you need massive public awareness. You know, the cultural thing. There are cultures in this country don't believe in defecating under a pit latrine. There is that cultural belief that it's an abomination. I mean, to ease oneself in a latrine or something like that. So it needs massive campaign, massive awareness, and then you must inject a lot of funds right from the local government, state governments, and the federal government.
So we'll leave it here on You and Your Reps this week. But the conversation continues. Your representatives are there to serve you. Until next time, I am Victor, as well, thanks for watching.